Hello everyone, my name is Nirzila and I am from class 9th RK. Today we are going to read chapter 5 of class 9th, Introduction to Equilates Geometry. 5.1 Introduction. The word geometry comes from the Greek word geo, meaning the earth, and metrine, meaning to measure. Geometry appears to have originated from the need for measuring land. This branch of mathematics was studied in various forms in every ancient civilization, be it in Egypt, Babylonia, China, India, Greece, the Incas, etc. The people of this civilization faced several practical problems which required the development of geometry in various ways. For example, whenever the river Nile overflowed, it wiped out the boundaries between the adjoining field of different landowners. After such floodings, these boundaries had to be redrawn. For this purpose, the Egyptians developed a number of geometry techniques and rules for calculating simple areas, and also for doing simple constructions. The knowledge of geometry was also used by them for computing values of granaries and for constructing canals and pyramids. They also knew the correct formula to find the volume of a truncated pyramid. See figure 5.1. You know that a pyramid is a solid figure, the base of which is a triangle or square or some other polygon, and its sides faces are triangle, converging to a point at the top. In the Indian subcontinent, the excavations at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro show that the Indus Valley civilization about 3000 BCE made extensive use of geometry. It was a highly organized society. The cities were highly developed and very well planned. For example, the roads were parallel to each other, and there was an underground drainage system. The houses had many rooms of different types. This shows that the town dwellers were skilled in mensuration and practical arithmetic. The bricks used for the construction were kiln-fired, and the ratio length is to breadth is to thickness of the bricks was found to be 4:2:1. In ancient India, the Sarva Sutras 800 BCE to 500 BCE were the manuals of geometrical constructions. The geometry of the Vedic period originated with the construction of altars or Vedis. And 5 places for performing Vedic rites. The location of the sacred fires had to be in the accordance to the clearly laid down. Instructions about their shapes and areas. If they were to be effective instruments, square and circular altars were used for household rituals, while altars whose shape were combination of rectangles, triangles, and trapeziums were required for public worship. The Shriyantra given in the Atharva Veda consists of 9 interwoven isosceles triangles. These triangles are arranged in such a way that they produce 43 subsidiary triangles. Though accurate geometric methods were used for the construction of altars, the principle behind them were not discussed. These examples show that geometry was being developed and applied everywhere in the world. But this was happening in an unsystematic manner. What is interesting about this development of geometry in the ancient world is that they were passed on from one generation to the next, either orally or through palm leaf messages, or by other ways. Also, we find that in some civilization like Babylonia, geometry remained a very practical oriented discipline, as was the case in India and Rome. The geometry developed by Egyptians mainly consisted of the statement of results. There were no general rules of the procedure. In fact, Babylonians and Egyptians used geometry mostly for practical purposes and did very little to develop it as a systematic science. But in civilization like Greece, the emphasis was on the reasoning behind why certain constructions work. The Greeks were interested in establishing the truth of the statement they discovered using deductive reasoning. See Appendix 1. A Greek mathematician, Thales is credited with giving the first known proof. This proof was of the statement that a circle is bisected, that is cut into 2 equal parts by its diameter. One of Thales' most famous people was Pythagoras, 572 BCE, whom you have heard about. Pythagoras and his group discovered many geometric properties and developed the theory of geometry to be great extent. They This process continued till 300 BCE.
This process continued till 300 BCE.
At that time, Euclid, a teacher of mathematics at Alexandria in Egypt, collected all the known work and arranged it in his famous treatise called Elements. He divided the elements into 13 chapters, each called a book. These books influenced the whole world's understanding of geometry for generation to come. In this chapter, we shall discuss Euclid's approach to geometry and shall try to link it with the present day geometry. 5.2 Euclid's definition, axioms and postulates. The Greek mathematician of Euclid's time thought of geometry as an abstract model of the world in which they lived. The notion of the point, line, plane, or surface, and so on, were derived from what was seen around them. From studies of the space and solids in the space around them. An abstract geometrical notion of the solid object was developed. A solid had shape, size, position, and can be moved from one place to another. Its boundaries are called surfaces. They separate one part of the space from another and are said to have no thickness. The boundaries of the surface are curves or straight lines. These line ends in points. Consider the 3 steps from solid to points. Solid, surfaces, lines, points. In each step we lose one extension, also called a dimension. So, a solid has 3 dimensions. A surface has 2. A line has 1. And a point has none. Euclid summarized these statements as definitions. He began his exposition by listing 23 definitions in Book 1 of the elements. A few of them are given below. 1. A point is that which has no part. 2. A line is breathless length. 3rd, the ends of a line are points. 4th, a straight line is a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. 5th, a surface is that which has length and breadth only. 6th, the edges of a surface are lines. 7th, a plane surface is a surface which lie evenly with the straight lines on itself. If you carefully study this definition, you find that some of the terms like part, breadth, length, evenly, etc. need to be further explained clearly. For example, example,
For example,
consider his definition of a point.
consider his definition of point.
In this definition, a part needs to be defined.
Needs to be defined.
Suppose if you define
Suppose if you define
a part
a part
to be that which occupies
that which occupies
area,
area,
again
again,
an area
an area
need to be defined.
needs to be defined.
So, to define one thing,
To define one thing,
you need to define many other things,
you need to define many other things.
and you may get a long chain of definitions
And you may get along a chain of definition
without an end.
without an end.
For such reasons,
For such reasons,
mathematicians agree to leave
mathematicians agree to leave
some geometric terms undefined.
some geometric terms undefined.
However,
However,
we do have intuitive feelings
we do have a different feeling
for the geometric concept of a point.
for the geometric concept of a point.
Then, what the definition above give us?
Then what the definition of ourselves?
So, we represent a point as a dot.
We represent a point with a dot.
Even though a dot has some dimension,
Even though a dot has some dimension.
a similar problem arises in definition 2 above,
A similar problem arises in definition above.
since it refers to breadth and length,
So it refers to breadth and length,
neither of which has been defined.
neither of which has been defined.
Because of this,
Because of this,
a few terms are kept undefined
a few terms are kept undefined
while developing any course of study.
while developing any course of study.
So, in geometry,
In geometry,
we take a point,
we take a point,
a line and a
a line and a
plane.
plane.
In Euclid's word, a plane surface
In English, words make surface
as undefined terms.
as undefined terms.
The only thing is that
The only thing is that
we can represent them intuitively
we can represent them intuitively
or explain them with the help of
and explain them with the help of
physical models.
physical models.
Starting with his definitions,
Starting with the definition,
Euclid assumes certain properties
Euclid assumes certain properties
which were not to be proved.
which were not to be proved.
These assumptions are actually
These assumptions are actually
obvious universal truth.
obvious universal truth.
He divided them into two types, axioms and postulates. He used the term postulate
Postulate
for the assumption
for the assumption
that were specific to geometry. Common notions, often called axioms, on the other hand, were assumptions used throughout mathematics and not specifically linked to geometry.
and not specifically linked to geometry.
For detail about axioms and postulates,
For details about axioms and postulates,
refers to Appendix 1.
refer to Appendix 1.
Some of Euclid's axioms,
Some of Euclid's axioms,
not in his order,
not in this order,
are given below.
are given below.
1.
1.
Things which are equal to the same things
Things which are equal to the same things
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
2.
2.
If equals are added to equals,
If equals are added to equals,
the wholes are equal.
the wholes are equals.
3. If equals are subtracted from equals,
If equals are subtracted from equals,
the remainders are equal.
the remainders are equal.
4.
4.
Things which are coincide with one another
Things which coincide with one another
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
5.
5.
The whole is greater than the part.
The whole is greater than the part.
6.
6.
Things which are double of the same things
Things which are double of the same things
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
7.
7.
Things which are half of the same things
Things which are half of the same things
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
These common notions
These common notions
refers to magnitudes of some kind.
refer to magnitudes of some kind.
The first common notion
The first common notion
would be applied to plane figures.
could be applied to figures.
For example,
For example,
if an area of a triangle equals the area of a rectangle
If the area of a rectangle equals the area of a rectangle,
and the area of a rectangle equals that of square,
and the area of the rectangle equals that of a square,
then the area of triangle also equals the area of the square.
then the area of a triangle also equals the area of the square.
Magnitudes of the same kind
Magnitudes of the same kind
can be compared and added,
can be compared and added,
but magnitudes of different kinds cannot be compared.
but magnitudes of different kinds cannot be compared.
For example,
For example,
a line cannot be compared to a rectangle,
a line cannot be compared to a rectangle,
nor can an angle be compared to a pentagon.
nor can an angle be compared to a pentagon.
The fourth axiom given above seems to say that
The fourth example given above seems to say that
if two things are identical,
if two things are identical,
that is, they are the same,
that is, they are the same,
then they are equal.
then they are equal.
In other words,
In other words,
everything equals itself.
everything equals itself.
It is the justification of the principle of
It is a justification of the principle of
superposition.
superposition.
Axiom 5 gives us the definition of
Axiom 5 gives us the definition of
greater than.
greater than.
For example,
For example,
if a quantity B is a part of another quantity A,
if a quantity B is a part of another quantity A,
then A can be written as the sum of B
then A can be calculated as of B,
and some third quantity C.
and some third quantity C.
Symbolically,
Symbolically,
A is greater than B means that
A is greater than B means that
there is some C
there is some C
such that A is equals to B plus C.
such that A is equal to B plus C.
Now let us discuss Euclid's 5 postulates.
Now let us discuss the five postulates.
They are
They are
postulate 1.
postulate 1.
A straight line may be drawn from
A straight line may be drawn from
any one point to any another point.
any one point to any other point.
Note that this postulate tells us
Note that this postulate tells us
that at least one straight line passes through two
that at least one straight line passes through two
distinct points.
distinct points,
But it does not say that
but it does not say that
there cannot be more than one such line.
there cannot be more than one such line.
However,
However,
in his work,
in his work,
Euclid had frequently assumed,
Euclid has frequently assumed,
without mentioning,
without mentioning,
that there is a unique line joining
that there is a line joining
two distinct points.
two distinct points.
We state this result in the form of
We state this result in the form of
an axioms as follows.
an example as follows.
Axiom 5.1
Axiom 5.1
gives two distinct points.
given two distinct points.
There is a unique line that passes through them.
There is a line that passes through them.
How many lines passing through P
How many lines passing through P
also pass through Q?
also pass through Q?
See figure 5.4.
See figure 5.4.
Only one,
Only one,
that is,
that is
the line PQ.
the line PQ.
How many lines passing through Q
How many lines passing through Q
also pass through P?
also pass through P?
Only one,
Only one,
that is,
that is
the line PQ.
the line PQ.
Thus,
Thus,
the statement above is self-evident
the statement above is self-evident,
and so is taken as an axiom.
and so is taken as an example.
Postulates 2.
Postulate 2.
A terminated line can be produced indefinitely.
A terminated line can be produced indefinitely.
Note that what we can call a line segment nowadays
Note that what we call a line segment nowadays,
is what Euclid call a terminated line.
what is called a terminated line.
So, according to the present day terms,
According to the present day terms,
the second postulate say that a line segment
the second postulate says that a line segment
can be extended on either side to form a line.
can be extended on either side to form a line.
See figure 5.5.
See figure 5.5.
Postulate 3.
Postulate 3.
A circle can be drawn with any center and any radius.
A circle can be drawn with any center and any radius.
Postulate 4.
Postulate 4.
All right angles are equal to one another.
All right angles are equal to one another.
Postulate 5.
Postulate 5.
If a straight line falling on two straight lines
If a straight line falling on two straight lines
makes the interior angles on the same side of it,
makes the interior angle on the same side of it,
taken together less than two right angles,
taken together less than two right angles,
then the two straight lines,
then the two straight lines,
if produced indefinite,
if produced indefinitely,
meet on that side on which
meet that side on which
the sum of angle is less than two right angles.
the sum of angles is less than right angles.
For example,
For example,
the line PQ in figure 5.6
the line between 5.6
falls on lines AB and CD
falls on line AB and CD
such that the sum of the interior angle
such that the sum of the interior angles
1 and 2 is less than 180 degree. On the left side of PQ, therefore,
therefore
the lines AB and CD will
the lines AB and CD will
eventually intersect on the left side of PQ.
eventually intersect on the left side of PQ.
5.3 Summary.
5.3 Summary.
In this chapter,
In this chapter,
you have studied the following points.
you have studied the following points.
1.
1.
Though equilates defined a point,
Though Euclid defined a point,
a line,
a line,
and a plane,
and a plane,
the definitions are not accepted by mathematicians.
the definitions are not accepted by mathematicians.
Therefore,
Therefore,
these terms are now taken as undefined.
these terms are now taken as undefined.
2.
2.
Exams or postulates assumptions
Axioms and postulates are the assumptions
which are obvious universal truth.
which are obvious universal truths.
They are not proved.
They are not proved.
3.
3.
Theorems are statements which are proved
Theorems are statements which are proved
using definition,
using definition,
axioms,
axioms,
previously proved statement and deductive reasoning.
previously proved statements and deductive reasoning.
4.
4.
Some of equivalent axioms were
Some of Euclid's axioms are
1.
1.
Things which are equal to the same things
Things which are equal to the same thing
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
2.
2.
If equals are added to equals,
If equals are added to equals,
the wholes are equal.
the wholes are equal.
3.
3.
If equals are subtracted from equals,
If equals are subtracted from equals,
the reminders are equal.
the reminders are equal.
4.
4.
Things which are coincide with one another
Things which are coincide with one another
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
5.
5.
The whole is greater than the part.
The whole is greater than the part.
6.
6.
Things which are double of the same things
Things which are double of the same things
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
7.
7.
Things which have half of the same things
Things which are half of the same thing
are equal to one another.
are equal to one another.
Equivalence postulates are
Euclid's postulates were
postulate 1.
postulate 1.
A straight line may be drawn from
A straight line is drawn from
any one point to any other point.
any one point to any other point.
Postulate 2.
Postulate 2.
A terminated line can be produced indefinitely.
A terminated line can be produced indefinitely.
Postulate 3.
Postulate 3.
A circle can be drawn with any center and any radius.
A circle can be drawn with any radius and any radius.
Postulate 4.
Postulate 4.
All right angles are equal to one another.
All right